Hi, welcome to Furious Fiction. I'm Mark Mustian here with Diane Roberts. We have a wonderful show for you today.
Do we ever?
We have with us Jeff Shaara, the author of trilogies, many books. That's right. He has a Civil War trilogy, a wonderful World War I book that I really like. He's just finishing up 4 books on World War II, the final book of which is Final Storm. So welcome to Furious Fiction.
Thank you.
And we're all so impressed with just what you've done and how much you've done, and just the work that must go into this. I mean, do you find yourself just studying history for months on end?
Well, the research is the biggest part of it, and it has to be, I mean, I'm putting words in the mouths of significant historical characters, and that's a very risky thing to do. Someone actually said to me, "How dare you put words in the mouth of Robert E. Lee?" Well, challenge accepted. If I dare to do that, I'd better make sure the words are at least accurate to the character, get it right. So I read a lot of history to get the facts straight, but the primary part of the book, I mean, this is not about names, dates, places, fact.
Right.
This
isn't a history book. These are novels.
You're telling a story.
It's the voices of the characters, and the only way to do that is get back and hear those voices and read the diaries, the letters, the memoirs. That's where most of the research is.
What's been the hardest thing in terms of, I mean, is it the history itself, or is it the writing, or what's the most difficult thing for you to do in your work?
Well, the research is the labor.
Right.
I mean, because I read typically 50 to 60 books for every book that I write, and that takes 6 to 8 months, and that is the work. And I'm making notes and so forth. And again, it's getting the facts straight because people care. I mean, if you start,
people care a lot.
Yeah, exactly. If you
well,
mess
and you
up,
care too. You want to get in that character right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But if I start to play fast and loose with history, I'm going to get serious grief, and the books are going to lose credibility and deserve to. But the writing is fun. Oh no, the writing, I liken it to a faucet turning on. It just flows.
Oh, you lucky person.
I know. I've heard a lot of that from writers. I love that, though.
Yeah, that is great. Well, tell me this. What is it with us and the Civil War? I mean, your World War I and World War II books are terrific, but boy, your Civil War people follow it. That is huge, and everyone is so engaged in those, and I'll bet you get most of your hate mail about that if you get hate mail. But what is it about us in the Civil War? I mean, it just seems to be this thing.
Well, I think there's several reasons. First of all, it's our war. I mean, there's nobody else involved. Plus, there's a lot of history, particularly in the South. I mean, I grew up, even though I'm from New Jersey, and so I'm very careful to say that I straddle the fence. But growing up in Tallahassee as a little kid, I mean, as a 6-year-old, hearing it in elementary school, people are still fighting the war. I mean, it is a visceral part of, particularly the identity of the South. And then even, in the North, you had so much immigration. My family immigrated in 1902, and so they were not a part of it at all. But there is still that element, and there's a passion for the subject that's, to me, is unique, and it's I run into it all the time. I mean, I do reenactments, I'll do book signings at various events. I'm always in Gettysburg in July, and you meet the people who care so much, whether they had a great-great-grandfather or not. They're just into the subject.
See it on the North side as well as the South? Because being in the South, we kind of always tend to think of it really this focus here. I mean, do you see it in Pennsylvania? Are people that focused?
Oh, very definitely. Yeah. I mean, there is sort of the cliche, that the Southerners are fighting the war of Northern aggression,
right.
and they're still fighting it. And certainly, I mean, I've run into a lot of that. But even in the North, and you mentioned Pennsylvania, I mean, that's probably the place. I mean, like, there's the Sons of Confederate Veterans are enormously active groups.
Yes.
There are Sons of Union Veterans groups. I've spoken to many of them. Civil War Roundtable. The Civil War Roundtable in New York is one of the most active roundtables in the country. So no, this is a national thing. I was amazed when I went to Spokane, Washington, and Denver and San Diego doing book signing events. Hundreds of people show up. I mean, about the civil. There was no Civil War in Spokane, Washington.
But as you say, it's our war, and it's the war that made the country. And of course, there's some parts of it we're still we're still not fighting exactly, but litigating maybe, or negotiating, you know, states' rights and all of that. But now you're going back to the Civil War. You're going to do the Western Theater because you said you were sick of. Well, people said they were sick of hearing you go on about Robert E. Lee in Virginia, and they wanted to hear about what Vicksburg and, you know.
Right. I can't tell you how many people have written me from Mississippi and Tennessee and said, you know, we're kind of tired of Robert E. Lee in Virginia. I mean, there's an awful lot that went on.
Hey, wait till the Kansas people get on.
No, that's already happened. and the Glorieta Pass people in New Mexico, and they have their one claim to fame, and that's fine. I've been there. It's a wonderful place. But no, it was important to go. I mean, there's a lot more story to tell because of the sesquicentennial. That got my publisher excited.
Yes.
You know, we're right now, you know, 2011 is the 150th of the beginning of the war. So for the next 4 years, this is a huge focus. And so, you know, the trilogy I'm focusing on, Shiloh, Vicksburg, and then Sherman at the end of the war.
And do you enjoy writing about the Civil War more than others, or is it just kind of the way it happens to play out for you?
It's really never about the event, because I don't write event-driven books. They're character-driven books, and whether it's the American Revolution, or World War, you mentioned the World War I book, World War II, I find the people that fascinate me. If I'm not intrigued by the people and don't get inspired by them, I'm not going to be able to tell much of a story.
Because you are telling a story, and as a novelist, you've got to find that story and those people to hang on.
The characters in your stories are just wonderful. I mean, the guy, the one in the World War I book, there was a guy from Monticello, Florida,
and, Roscoe Temple,
and as well as the Red Baron and others. So we've been very grateful to have Jeff Shaara here with us today on Furious Fiction. Jeff, thanks for being with us. Good luck with the next trilogy, starting with Shiloh.
We look forward to it.
We'll look forward to seeing that. Look forward to having you here again with us on Furious Fiction. Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.